Hello everybody, my name is Natalia Leigh and I'm the author of the young adult novels Highborn and Way of Spears. And if you have already seen the title of this video, then you know exactly what we're going to be discussing today, which means there is no intro required. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So if you have spent any time here on my channel, then you will know that for months and months now, I have been talking about wanting to traditionally publish my novel, Song of the Dryad. And I definitely started the process, but very early on, I changed my mind about it. And today I'm going to talk about what happened and why I decided to change my mind, what went into the decision, and where I'm going from here. So stay tuned. All right, so let's rewind to the end of April of 2018. I had just finished the fourth draft of Song of the Dryad and I was ready to start querying. Now, at this point, I had already written a few different versions of my query letter. If you don't already know, a query letter is the letter that you send to agents that you are interested in. You send these to literary agents in a hope of snagging their attention, and you want them to hopefully want to see more of your work so that maybe you can sign with that agent, because typically if you want to get into a large publishing house, you need an agent to represent you. So I already had my query written and it had been edited multiple times. This is something that I could talk about in a different video if you are interested, especially for those of you that want to pursue traditional publication. But I did win a few different query contests with my query for Song of the Dryad, which means when I won those contests, I got to send my query letter along with the first few chapters of my novel to either an agent or an editor or an author in the industry, and then it was edited for me and then returned looking much nicer and better and snazzier, yes. So my query had already been tidied up quite a lot. It had been edited about 3 or 4 times, so I was feeling pretty darn good about it. I started querying agents on the very first day of May. Now, that wasn't too long ago. I am filming this on June 11th, I believe. So that was, almost a month and a half ago that I started querying, and I jumped right into it. I was super excited. I queried 5 agents on my first day, and believe me, I thought I was going to be able to query way more. I was like, oh, the first day I'll send like 15 queries, and then I'll send 12 more the next day, and I'll send 100 within the first month or whatever, but no, it's not like that at all. You have to go through each agent that you are interested in, double check their agency. I was going to call it a publishing house. You have to double check the agency that they work with, make sure that they represent the genre and the age group that you write in, make sure that they are open to queries, because I accidentally sent a query to an agent that was closed for queries because her agency didn't say it online, and I actually found it on her Twitter after I had sent the query. So you have to make sure that you're really doing your research. You are checking all of their social media platforms, you are really up to date with what they're doing. And then after you check on all that and you know that it's still somebody you want to query, then you have to personalize your query. I did not send out queries in batches. It's not like you just send one generalized query to 20 different agents. That's not how it goes. You have to personalize them. Let the agent know that you've done your research and that you're actually interested in them. And I can talk about all of this in like a querying video if you're interested. Let me know in the comments down below if that's something you want to see from me. But long story short, it takes a long time to send adequate, decent, professional queries. So within the first few weeks, I queried something like 16 or 17 agents. And I was really excited about it at first. I was sending out all these queries, when I came across agents that just weren't interested in the work that I represented or were closed or whatever it is, I just threw them out. I knew that I didn't need them because I had so many other agents to get through. And I did that for, like I said, about 2 weeks. And then I started to question why I was doing it. This was a very difficult decision, deciding self-publication, traditional publication, self-publication, traditional publication. I can't even count the number of hours that I've not only spent thinking about it, but I've spent discussing it with Greg. I've discussed it with my dad. I've discussed it with my mom. I've talked to so many people about this because it is such a difficult decision to make. So I thought I was 100% into the traditional publication route. But then I started to have some doubts. And one of the first doubts was when I was going through a lot of agent profiles, and I was finding that many of the, I guess, story topics that I'm interested in exploring and discussing and discovering, many of those topics are topics that agents don't really want to deal with. Whether that's a topic that's just been overdone or something that doesn't sell very well in like commercial fiction, for whatever reason, they didn't want to deal with it. And that's cool. Like, that's totally fine. I respect each and every agent. I have no problem with how the agencies are run or how agents work or anything like that. And that was the first indication to me that if I were to sign with an agent and sign with a publishing house, there would be a potential of not being able to write exactly what I wanted. And I know that this isn't the case with everybody. There are some agents that, I've heard stories of you have to pitch them each idea that you have, but if they're not interested in that idea, then you can take it and work on that separately as a self-published author or whatever you want to do. But I've also heard stories of authors being relatively controlled by their agency or by their publishing house, and their work isn't quite as free-form as they might like it to be. And again, I can't say that it's absolutely this way or it's absolutely this way, because I don't know. And I think that, there are so many different agents out there and publishing houses, and there's not going to be one rule across the board about how that works. But I started to get a little nervous about books in the future that I want to write. If I get agented now and I sign a contract for 2 books, let's say, but I don't want to write the book that they want me to write, what's going to happen? And I never really came to a conclusion about that, but that was my first worry. And then the second thing that started creeping in was the fact that I feel like I've been working on this book for so long, and I want so badly for you guys to be able to read and enjoy it. I am this close, to letting it go and letting you guys finally get your hands on it. And I knew that if I was fortunate enough to land an agent and then go through edits with them and then actually land a book deal, because that's a whole different thing when you have to go on submission. You have to not only land the agent, but also land the publishing house. So there are a lot of stepping stones along the way. By the time this book finally comes out, it could be 2020, it could be 2021, and I just knew in my heart that there was no way I wanted to wait that long. Like, I am so excited for this book. I've worked so incredibly hard. And that's not to say that authors who have been traditionally published do not work extremely hard, and they're not extremely proud of their work, because of course they are. But just personally for myself, I did not want to wait another 3 years to finally see my book in a finished form. All of these doubts started crowding into my mind, and I started thinking, why do I want to traditionally publish? What is the thing that is really pushing me to traditionally publish? And I'm going to be really honest and kind of vulnerable with you here and tell you that a lot of it had to do with my own ego. I thought that if I was able to be traditionally published, it would give me some sort of honor. It would give me like an honorary title. I am traditionally published, which means that I write really good work. And that's just not the truth. I have read some self-published and indie published novels that were absolutely phenomenal. And I have read some traditionally published novels that were terrible, that I could not even get through because of how horribly written they were. And I think that really goes to show that no matter which avenue you choose, you still have to be willing to put in all the time, all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that is required to make a really good product. So when I was finally honest with myself about why I wanted to traditionally publish, I just wanted the, what's that word, like? Status, thank you. So when I finally got to the point where I could look very clearly at my decision and say, okay, I want to be traditionally published for maybe the wrong reasons, because Wanting to be traditionally published just for the status of saying, I am a traditionally published author, wasn't a good enough reason for me. I have spent a lot of time and effort and energy interacting with you guys in this community and building this small but wonderful author platform that I have. And I do feel that through all of that hard work, I do have an audience out there, and I do believe that I will be able to sell my book. And that was the other thing that I was worried about, like, oh, what if I can't sell enough books? But then I discovered that even if you are traditionally published, if you are not one of the lucky few, the ones that get into all the book boxes and that get on the panels at BookCon and these really like elite authors, then what happens to those books? You write a book, you sell it to somebody else, it's traditionally published, you have no say-so or no power over it, and then what? Like you have sold your rights, you can no longer control it. And this reminds me of when I met Leigh Taylor, the author of the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, trilogy, as well as Strange the Dreamer. And I went to her signing and I brought one of the first books that she ever wrote. It was it's up there somewhere. It was like The Fairies of Dreamdark, I think. And when she saw that book, she was really excited because she told me they're not even making these books anymore. These books are not even being printed and sold anymore. And it was startling to me to know that the author that wrote that book and that loved that book had no control over when it stopped being sold. And she told me, I asked about the other books and she said, I can't even tell you where to get those anymore because they're not being made. Like you would have to find them either online, and she said they are super expensive online because they've become more valuable, or you have to find them in thrift shops, which is where I ended up finding my copy. And just the idea of giving all of my power away to somebody else to tell me what I would publish, when it would come out, how it would look, what I would write next, how much money I would get for it, which is a whole nother thing to talk about. And I'm not going to discuss all of this in this video because these are separate, smaller topics. And again, let me know in the comments down below if you want me to expand on any of this. But long story short, again, I am a bit of a control freak. I love to have control and power over everything. That is one of the reasons that I started my own business. I don't like having a boss. I don't like having people tell me what to do or how to do something or when to do something. And these are things that I knew going into querying. Like I knew I'm not somebody that likes to follow direction. I'm not somebody that likes to, do what other people say. I have sworn to myself that I will never have a boss again in my life because I want to be in control of everything, and traditional publication wasn't really lining up with that. And again, I can't say that it won't work for you, because you might really, really want to pursue it and you know all of this going forward and it works for you, and I say go for it. Like, just because I've decided something might not work for me doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. So, toward the end of May, I would say, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided that I was going to stop querying and that I was going to start pursuing self-publication. And I know that my YouTube has been kind of quiet lately, and that's because I've been really hard at work getting everything in order. But I do have a tentative release date in this year of 2018 that I am going to aim for, and I'm a little behind. Like the amount of time it takes to get everything done, and the amount of time you have to you're supposed to schedule your editor so far in advance. You're supposed to schedule your cover designer so far in advance, and I was behind schedule on that already. So that's what I've been working on. But I do have an editor picked out now, which is super exciting. So my book, Song of the Dryad, is currently in a round of revisions right now that I'm doing with my newest small pool of beta readers. So I'm going to finish the 5th draft in the upcoming weeks, and then no later than the 29th of this month, Song of the Dryad will go to my editor. And I'm really excited about it. I'm a little nervous because I have mentioned in other videos I have never had a professional edit done. When I published Highborn A Way of Spears, I didn't know everything that I know today. I also didn't have the funds available to me to pay for a professional editor, but I am very, very fortunate to have the funds now to go ahead and pay for that. So my novel will be with the editor for a month, and then in August, I will be moving forward with a cover design and an interior format, and I am super excited about it. Like, I just cannot wait to see all of this like in motion. But again, the reason I was waiting a while to talk about this, like I've known about this for weeks and weeks, and I wanted to talk about it, but I wasn't ready. And that was just because I wanted to make sure that I was really firm in my decision. I didn't want to get on here and make this video and then go back on my word and say something else in a different video, but I have absolutely decided that I am moving forward with self-publication. I have put money down already. I am serious about this, and I am super excited about it. So in the upcoming weeks and months, there are going to be a lot of videos coming out detailing my journey to self-publication, because you guys have been watching my journey through writing and editing my book, but now the like professional or like business marketing side of the journey begins, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Of course, if you have questions or requests, leave them down below. I am very open to discuss this with you, because I know that some of you have really expressed excitement at me wanting to be a hybrid author. Other of you have, expressed sadness that it would take so long for the book to be out if I were to be traditionally published. With your novel, what do you want to do? Do you want to self-publish? Do you want to traditionally publish? Do you want to go somewhere in the middle and go through like an indie publishing house? Let me know. I feel like I have been super kind of rambly in this video just because there's so much to talk about, and yet I don't want to sit here for 2 hours and just like run your ears off with everything that I have to say. So rather than doing that, I'm going to separate everything into other smaller videos. I want to do a video all about finding and working with a professional editor, finding and working with a professional cover designer or interior designer. I'm going to be detailing all of this along my journey to self-publication. So you guys, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. Thank you so much for joining me on this exciting, extensive, stressful, amazing journey that has been Song of the Dryad. I cannot wait for it to finally be out in the world and to be in your hands and maybe even on your bookshelves. That would be absolutely phenomenal. I am really happy with my decision. And again, I do want to say that there are absolutely no hard feelings toward any of the agents that I queried, or toward any agencies or traditional publishing houses. Like, I absolutely admire and respect traditional publication for all that it is, and I admire and respect all of the traditionally published authors out there, but I have decided that at this point in my life, it is not for me. I'm a control freak. I like doing things my own way, and I want my book out sooner than 2021. So I'm going to do this my way. I'm super excited about it, and I hope that you will continue following me on my journey. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Also, have you seen this lovely painting I did back here? My sister, my younger sister, is getting married in just over 1 week. Less than 2 weeks away, she's getting married, and we went to her bachelorette party yesterday, and it was like a, you could sip some wine or sip some sparkling water or just sip some alkaline water like I did and paint a picture. So I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. And it is going to join us in all of our videos now.